time to give me my flowers, you know what I mean? I don't want them later on when I ain't here.
This video is about a man by the name of Patrick Clark, 33 years old, Houston, Texas. He is charged allegedly with the murder in the shooting death of Kersnick Kyrie Ball, professionally known as TAKEOFF, who was a member of the hip-hop trio Migos. TAKEOFF was shot to death in the early morning hours on November the 1st outside of a bowling alley in downtown Houston, Texas. The judge set the bond for $2 million. Clark's attorney is quite upset because she is stating that they have met all of the bond requirements that the judge set forth. And she don't understand why this bond cannot be reduced to the $350,000 that they were asking for. Here goes the video. Our hearts always go out to the family, of young men like this who was just trying to make some money, and he was in a bad spot at the wrong place at the wrong time. And here goes the videos. Please like, subscribe, share my videos. Welcome to Straddled Events. On this channel, we bring you the truth. Sometimes the truth is quite ugly, unbearable, and you just don't want to deal with it. But on this channel, you're gonna get it anyway. You are straddled the fence of good versus evil, right versus wrong. And on this channel, we're gonna tell you to do better. Please like, dislike, subscribe, and share the videos. Now let's go.
There were a lot of people around when this shooting happened, but now we're finding out more about why police say this is the man accused in TAKEOFF's death. Go and take a look at this video. This is Patrick Xavier Clark. He's 33 years old. He's from Houston. This is him appearing in probable cause court late last night. You'll notice several HPD officers standing there in court with him, which is a little out of the ordinary, but as we know, a lot of eyes have been on this investigation. Clark is charged with murder in the November 1st killing of Migos rapper TAKEOFF. The shooting happened after a private party at a downtown Houston bowling alley. Investigators say there was a fight over a high-stakes dice game. HPD says TAKEOFF was not involved in the dice game or the fight, but was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, during this court hearing, we learned video evidence, license plate information from the car Clark left in, as well as fingerprints from a wine bottle he was seen holding led to his arrest. The state asked for a $2 million bond because they believe Clark was trying to get out of town.
Investigators learned that he recently purchased tickets to Mexico just 2 days prior to his arrest and applied for and received an expedited passport. So we believe that he has plans to flee the jurisdiction if released on bond.
The judge did set his bond at $2 million. He's currently here in the Harris County Jail. His next court appearance is set for Monday. Reporting live downtown, Courtney Carpenter, ABC 13, Eyewitness News.
As you can imagine, although we respect Judge Hill, as well as his decision today, we disagree with it. And to be honest, we're very surprised by it. A couple of weeks ago, the judge laid out some conditions and requirements that he wanted the defense to meet. We believe we've reached and satisfied each one of those requirements. Specifically, he asked us to find a bail bonding company that will do immediate notification of any violations of the GPS monitoring. We did that. He asked that we provide the fee affidavit that Mr. Clark filled out in order to assess what his financial situation was. We did that. He asked that we provide the passport ID card that was not confiscated from him at the time of his arrest. We did that. We complied with every requirement that the judge asked of us, only to be told today that it would not be lowered. So yes, we are very disappointed. We disagree, and frankly, we're very surprised.
Do you all plan on doing that?
We plan to take every remedy available by law for Mr. Clark, because what we do believe is that it is the high-profile nature of this case that has really affected the constitutional rights of Mr. Clark. I've been practicing 24 years in this county, And I can't remember a time that a bond for murder was set at $2 million. And so certainly I do understand everything that surrounds this case, but I think that there are two controlling factors that need to be considered. Whether or not Mr. Clark is a danger to society, given the fact that he has never been truly charged with any violent offense, never been convicted of an offense, never been in trouble with the law in any capacity, I think that says a lot that he is not a danger to society. And in fact, the judge commented on that today. And then when we talk about the only other factor that the judge felt was concerning to him was the flight risk factor. And the things that he noted that he took into consideration was in fact the passport. The fact that Mr. Clark had looked into fake tickets. Well, if we turn over both passports to the court, as we did in this case, and along with that, there is GPS monitoring that will immediately notify the court, the prosecutor, and things of that nature, we believe that we've placed together for the court circumstances that would alleviate any concerns for flight risk. So it just leaves us puzzled. What other factors are there other than the high-profile nature of this case that would cause the judge not to reduce it to something that is reasonable? And I would submit that even a $300,000 bond, which is what we ask for, is substantial in nature for any average citizen. And there has not been one iota of direct evidence to suggest that Mr. Clark and his family and their financial situation is anything other than average. And so it just begs the question, what is really controlling the issues here? And so again, we plan to take the remedies available to Mr. Clark by filing an appeal with the necessary higher court for them to take a look at everything that is going on and what went into this decision.
The judge also commented on, I guess, a Tony of some sort. He was kind of alluded to, he believes that there is some kind of funding source out there somewhere. Is that sufficient enough for you?
It's not sufficient enough for me, but apparently it was sufficient enough for the court. And again, we respect Judge Hill's decision. However, who is this Uncle Tony? Why hasn't the prosecutor brought this person into court? This is just a facade, again, that does not truly exist. There is no evidence to suggest that there is an Uncle Tony with a boatload of money out there willing to put behind Mr. Clark and his escape. And so I think innuendos and statements by the prosecutor should not be considered evidence. What should be considered evidence, and what the Constitution demands that what should be considered as evidence, is testimony before a court or evidence. There was no testimony by any witness that there is a Mr. Tony or Uncle Tony that exists with money that he intends to fund Mr. Clark's I guess, flee from the jurisdiction. I think we put on evidence to suggest the actual contrary to that. And that is, he canceled his trip to Mexico. If he truly wanted to flee, he would be gone. He had a ticket. He could have left. In addition to that, we brought in a witness that says he was looking at leasing an apartment after the incident occurred. And so I think that speaks volumes as to whether or not Mr. Clark really intends to flee the jurisdiction. So to answer your question, no, I don't think it's sufficient evidence.
Do you think the judge changed his mind? Because in the earlier hearings, it sounded like what you provided is what he asked for. And now that he has it, he's not reducing the bond. So did he change his mind, or did he not get what he wanted? What do you think about that?
There could be no other explanation other than the judge has changed his mind. I think everyone heard what the requirements were in the previous hearing. He specifically asked us to do certain things. We did everything that he asked us to do. We even brought the GPS monitoring company into court to testify, to tell them and to tell the court, we can do this. We can do immediate notification. The court even stated in open court that they trust this bonding company. And so, to be honest, we're just really surprised. But the fight is not over. We do believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that when the time comes, we will be able to show Mr. Clark's innocence in this. And I think something has been lost with all the hype and all the tragedy that's involved in this offense, and that Mr. Clark is presumed innocent. I think we forget about that. And then we forget about that there is a constitution that no matter who the complainant is, should protect the defendants. And it's just causing me a little concern when it comes to those issues because of the high profile nature of this case.
Ma'am, Jason Wood with KPRC. Wanted to ask, you brought this up, innocence. Why do you believe that Clark is innocent?
I believe that Clark is innocent the same reason the prosecutors believe that he's not. I have reviewed the video in this case. My team has reviewed the videos in this case. And when the time is right, we believe we have sufficient evidence to prove his innocence.
The judge also mentioned that there's still a lot more that you need, a lot more that the prosecutors need. How does that process, as far as getting evidence going?
Well, as you can imagine, right now it's kind of been stifled because we've been dealing with this bond issue and the holidays. And so put all those factors together, right now we've been focusing on trying to get Mr. Clark a reasonable bond, but we intend to, hit the ground running next week and move forward with the actual meritorious claims that we believe exist for Mr. Clark and his defense.
The judge also made points to say in the hearing today that the $2 million bond originally said likely violates your client's constitutional right, but the $1 million doesn't necessarily do that. What's the difference in those two amounts?
Well, to be honest, that's just our issue. If the judge feels a $2 million bond is unconstitutional because there's no one that can make it in this court, under that same premise, a $1 million bond basically has the same effect. There was a licensed bondsman who's been in business for 20 years or over 20 years who stated there isn't a realistic bonding company that would post bond for this family and the resources they have available at $1 million. So in essence, the consequence is the same. So we contend that even a $1 million bond is unconstitutional in this particular case.
You talk about the high profile nature. Do you think a lot of that is influencing the judge? He doesn't want to lower the bail, he can get out and have the talk of, oh, they let this guy out. Basically, he doesn't want to get the judge attached to the person who allowed Mr. Clark out of jail. It sounds like you feel like it's played a role in this decision.
I definitely think that it's played a role. I have a lot of respect for Judge Hill, but he's a human being too. And so I believe that there are a lot of factors that went into this consideration, into this decision. And I think just to be frank, I think the high profile nature of it and all the media attention that it's getting had a lot to do with it. Because defendants who are similarly situated as Mr. Clark are not walking around with a $1 million bond, or I shouldn't say walking around. Similar defendants situated as Mr. Clark do not have a $1 million bond with no prior criminal history for a murder with self-defense claims.
So at this point, do you think there's anything else you can provide to Judge Hill to change his mind? Because you gave him what he requested, and he said he was still open today to further discussion. But what else could you provide to him?
That's the question we have. We don't know if there's anything else we can provide because everything that he has asked us for, we have provided. So I think the right thing to do is to respect his decision and move up to the higher courts.
You mentioned that this is a high-profile case. If you take TAKEOFF out of the equation, does it remain a high-profile case?
No, it does not. That's the only reason it's a high-profile case. People are being charged with murder every day in Harris County. I get a call 2 to 3 times a week about murder cases in Harris County. The only one that receives this type of media attention is the one where TAKEOFF is the complainant.
Any closing comments?
I just ask that everyone keep an open mind as we are going through this process. I ask that everyone remove the hype from this case and remember that when you are charged with a crime in the United States of America, there are safeguards under our Constitution that protect you. And there is a day in time where your guilt or innocence will be determined, and it's not at the level where your bond is considered. Because at this point, we believe that bond is being used as a tool of oppression and not to assure that the defendant appears in court.